Good morning. My name is Danny M., and I am an addict. Welcome to GRCNA 39.5. New possibilities arise, and welcome to our workshop on carrying the message, not the addict. Regarding anonymity, when joining a virtual meeting, you will need to keep your video turned off to guarantee your anonymity. Excuse me. If you turn your video on, you are choosing to be seen by the other participants. You can also change your name or switch to first name plus last initial to protect your identity. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Welcome to the Georgia region's first virtual convention, GRCNA 39.5, New Possibilities Arise. Our intention for this virtual convention is to make available to our fellowship a weekend of recovery, celebration, and fun. We hope that all addicts receive the NA message of recovery while they are participating in this event. It is our hope that the message we carry may truly let everyone know that NA is a place to recover and that no addict seeking recover need die from addiction. These are the workshop participation guidelines. Please dress appropriately on camera. Please keep your microphone on mute unless you are asked to unmute by the host or co-host. If you have a question or need general assistance during the workshop, please contact the host or one of the co-hosts via direct message in chat. If there is time after our workshop speakers finish, participants may have an opportunity to share their experience, strength, and hope on the workshop topic. If you would like to share after the speakers are finished, please raise your virtual hand. Your virtual hand can be raised by going to the reactions window on your computer or by going to the More section on your phone. ... That's what that means. You will be called on to share and unmuted or asked to unmute yourself by one of the hosts if time permits. Please limit such shares to 3 to 4 minutes. I have asked for volunteers for our readings.
Anyone willing to read, just raise your hand.
You may read it, Mike.
See Felicita. Felicita?
Hi, family. I'm Felicita, and I'm an addict. How it works, right? That's what's on screen. Yeah. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Felicita. Is there a volunteer to read the 12 traditions?
I think we had Andre. Andre, I'm going to unmute you.
How about James L.? James, did you want to read?
Addict James L. Silence of the Lamb. The 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance. And just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that will tear us apart, all will be well. Number one, excuse me, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity.
Well, the beautiful part is
Our
I
group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, a NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, and as such, ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminded us to place principles before personalities.
Thank you, James.
Thank you for allowing me to read.
Our first speaker today is Brandon B. from Northeast Georgia area of NA. First speakers, okay.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm an addict.
Hey, Brandon.
You know, I my sponsor gets on me for sharing all the time. I tend to keep it short and sweet. So this is an opportunity to really try to stretch my legs and really share what's going on with me. And I appreciate it. It sucks to be you, but you know, I do appreciate it. You know, I came on here and I was listening to the when we started the meeting about anonymity, and you know, I work from home and I do Zoom calls all day, and so my Zoom is tied into my work and it's got my full name, and you know what, I kind of thought, you know, my anonymity is my anonymity, and you know, I'm free to do with it as I will, and one of the things that I've kind of learned over the years, when I think about it, is when I first started to get clean and I would try to find a job, I would try to distance myself from my addiction as much as possible. And you know, as time's gone on, you know, I've gotten to a point where, you know, I'm free to share with anybody that I'm an addict. You know, my boss knows, some of my coworkers know, you know, some of my clients know, and it's allowed me to carry a message outside of just the rooms, that, you know, hey, we do recover, and you know, it's not really the topic, but you know, everybody needs to know that we do recover, not just the people that come through the doors. I when I agreed to do this, it was a lot of my motivation behind it was just going along with, if you're asked to do something, you need to say yes. And my sponsor is very big on service, and since I started doing some service, I haven't used, I'll tell you that. So, you can take it for what it is. But I didn't, what do I have to bring to what experience, strength, or hope do I have with this topic? I didn't know. And then, it's like there's a God or something, but a couple days later we had a meditation talking about carry the message, not the addict. And so that's given me something to think about while I'm trying to get ready for this whole thing. From my experience, when I started using, it was fun at first, and it was fun until it wasn't. My first real red flags were when I would stop going out with my coworkers because I started blacking out, and it was like, well, I kind of need this job, so to protect my using and still keep my job, I'm just going to stop going out with my coworkers. And over the years, it just continued to get worse. I picked up a number of DUIs, a number of possession arrests, and I would always try to rationalize my using, and the meditation talks about you can be counseled, reasoned with, prayed over, threatened, beaten, locked up. They won't stop using until they want to stop, and that is definitely me. And even at my last arrest, when the choice was either take this court program or go to prison, the only reason I took the court program is because I thought, well, if I go to prison, that's really going to interfere with my using. And that's just my story. And I when I signed up for it, I tried to find every single possible way that I could find to get around the testing that they did for me. And that was just God doing for myself, God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, and putting me in a position to where I had to stay clean or go to jail. And I was just afraid enough to go into jail that I did it. But what happened is after a while, I started, my head started to clear, and I would go, okay, well, maybe having a few dollars in my pocket and a roof over my head is better than going out and couch surfing, being stuck places, just, it was absolutely miserable. My grandmother died last Saturday, and my grandfather, he passed away the day before my clean date. And so, I was so miserable when I was that right before we buried my grandfather, that I was up using before the funeral, hating myself, just crying. I didn't want to live anymore, but I couldn't do anything about it. And I just didn't see any way out of it. Not until not until my head was cleared up and I got into NA. And that's when I started to, see maybe there is a way out, but there's nothing. The thing is, once I put that drug or drink into my body, then I want to use. I want to use until I'm dead and in a gutter, and there's nothing that you can tell me that will make me want to think otherwise. And that's just the truth of it. So my experience with that is that I was not going to quit using until I wanted to stop using. And as I said, I didn't get the message right off the bat. It took a while. It took several months before I finally came around, and it was a slow dawning. I didn't just wake up one day and go, you know what, I don't want to use anymore. It was a slow process. Once I did get the message, I wanted to go out and I wanted to tell everybody. I wanted to try and go out and tell my old dope man, hey, you know what? You need to get into recovery. I did a lot of stupid things, and I was trying to come up with some real good examples. But you know, I wasn't really able to come up with anything, you know, really good for a story. But I did try to contact a lot of the old people that I used to use with. I was messing around with this girl, and I really wanted to get her in recovery because I couldn't go back to using. Maybe I could draw her into this deal and still get to have the fun that I used to have. But you know, that was just my sick thinking. You know, I finally came to a point where, you know what, trying to go drag all my old buddies into recovery is just not, it's not going to work the way I hoped it would. And so there would be new people that would come into the room, and I'd try to grab them and be like, you know what, you need this, you need to listen. And a lot of times, you know, they would come in and they would start to get it the way I would get it, and I would get my hopes up, only for them to disappear or hear about them ODing not too long later. And it was really just something that it hurt. And I would also want to pull back, and you know what, you know, here it is, you want it, it's yours. If you don't, that's on you. I kind of don't feel like that's necessarily the best approach either. You know, if it wasn't for the investment that some members have had in me, then I wouldn't be here today where I'm at. And then, you know, I've also had some experiences where some of the people that came in with me, you know, we had a couple years together, and that they would, you know, I can count on maybe one hand the number of people that are still in the rooms that were here when I came in. And I remember when they were falling off the wagon, and you know, I would fluff them up with some bullshit like it's gonna be okay. You know, instead of saying, look, man, you need to get to a meeting, you're acting out. You know, I didn't understand it. So a lot of the things that I've learned is that there's just nothing better than just a cool, clear message of recovery. And I don't need to worry about what somebody's going to think about me, which is where a lot of that comes from. I just need to say, this is what I think. And here's how that's worked out in my life. The best thing that I've found that I can, as time's gone on, especially for my old using buddies, you know, a lot of times I've had them come walk into the meeting where I was at. And the best thing that I've found that I can do is just to be strong in my own recovery, so that when I do see them, then I am able to share that message of recovery. I'm, you know, on paper, I'm sure I'm sponsor for a lot of people because I've got a lot of rehabs that come in, and you know they'll look for they'll say I need a sponsor or something along that line. Come up to me after a meeting, and I never see them again. And that really hurts. But you know, I do have one guy that actually calls and does what I ask him to do. I'm getting kind of lost. All I can do is share the message that I've learned, the things that I've heard, and I can only speak from my experience, and that's the message that I've got. You know, any addict can lose the desire to desire to use, and you know that's what this is all about. I've been able to take. One of the things that I've really learned, especially lately, is that you know, a lot of people need to know that we do recover. I've been able to take the NA message of recovery, and I've been able to take it outside of just the rooms. I've got two daughters. I've got a 22-year-old and I've got a 10-month-old. So, you know, I've got one heck of a spread. My daughter, this 22, I was able to talk to her about a gratitude list. And I'm like, here's a tool. You know, you've got everything going on around you, and, you know, what are you grateful for? You know, let's write down some things that you're grateful for. I've got a cousin that is, you know, she is definitely one of us, kind of on the run from the law right now. And I wasn't able to talk to her, but her family needed to know, yes, we do recover. Now I'm going to end up here in just a minute. My 10-month-old, she's the daughter of two addicts, you know, and the only way that the doors are going to be available if and when she does need them one day is if I continue to carry that message of recovery, continue to stay into service work, and continue to make sure that other recovering addicts hear that clear message of recovery. That's all I've got. Short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Love you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
I'm an acting Bob. Am I supposed to speak now?
Hey, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yes,
Well,
Dave.
so I was waiting for you to be to introduce you. I apologize.
No
I had a
worries.
little
I was just,
lag.
okay.
So I give you Bob from St. Hi, Bob.
Hi, everyone.
Bob.
I'm an acting Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Good to see some faces and other names that I recognize here, and just grateful to be alive and clean and be a small piece of the message of Narcotics Anonymous. and the ability to carry the message. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate your message. I also thought about this and said, well, how long am I supposed to speak for? That's a great question. Let me start with that. Can anybody help me with that?
You have about 20, 25, 30 minutes.
Great. Thank you very much. There'll be plenty of time left for other people, because in all honesty, the carrying the message is a very simple concept. And I can tell you how I've done it, but without sharing my story, which is not what you guys asked me to do. You asked me to speak on a topic. I don't know if I have that much time. Some of the people here know me. I actually wore my a shirt. I mean, this is that's a Frickna shirt, and this was the first convention I went to in 2000. And my first GRCNA, I couldn't find a shirt, which was 2001. And it happened to be where I met my wife, who was, took a few years for that to happen. But carrying the message is, and GRCNA has always done a fantastic job to me. GRCNA has always been very real. Some of the conventions that I've gone to are a lot about hype and party and and GRCNA always just seemed to touch my heart for whatever reason. And there was a quality of being real. And I want to talk about that for a second. My first sponsor taught me a little bit about that. I don't know about you, but coming from where we come from as addicts, I got a pretty good BS detector. And I think most of you guys do too. So when I come on or try to be something I'm not, or try to, then that doesn't carry the message very well, because people can kind of see through all my stuff, right? So GRCNA always been down to earth and has always been very real to me, and it always just seemed to touch my heart. And I think it's about that honesty and integrity, and about service and truly carrying the message. And so for that, I'm so grateful. I wrote some notes. I appreciate being asked to be of service at any time in Narcotics Anonymous, because it always makes me go back and re-review some of my literature and re-review some of my, just take a look at some of the things that I probably haven't seen in a while, and it gets me more plugged in, and that's how this works. I heard somebody say one time that, we recover to the best of our ability. And I'm not so sure that's actually true. I think we recover to the best of our willingness, because I've had a lot more abilities to do a lot of things that haven't done in recovery, or I could probably be more of service. I could probably, I don't know if I could sponsor more guys. It's not about ego. It's about just trying to really be able to be there to help someone. I'm sure I could probably do a little more on the area level. I've tried to step down some, because I try to let the newer people basically, have their turn. I try to, but there's a lot that I could do, but my willingness is where I am. Some days I'm more willing to be an active participant in my own recovery. And when I do that, I better carry the message. Somewhere, and I was trying to look, I put some notes, but it says the message is meaningless unless we live it. And the reality of it is that I can talk a really good game. I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm an addict. So I have a great line of BS, and I have a great line of, somebody came in, welcome. Please mute. Or maybe we'll dance. I think I got some music going on. Maybe there's a message there. But the reality of it is that unless I'm really living what I'm doing, then most of you guys can see through my BS. And I just try to figure out, sometimes it's about doing what we say. So I wanted to read a couple little things when I think about carrying the message. Well, let me say this. It says carrying the message, not the addict. My very first sponsee I ever had went back out, relapsed. And I was upset. I mean, I thought I was supposed to be doing something to help this guy. And And I went to my sponsor, and I mean, I almost cried to him. I said, was there anything I could have done differently? Was there any way I could have better carried the message? Was there any way that anything I should have said, or anything I said I shouldn't have, or, you know, I was owning it. And like some of those old guys used to do it. And again, I know we're not supposed to cuss on here, but I'm going to try to give you an indication of what he said. He said, who do you think you are? Are you powerful enough to keep somebody clean? Are you powerful enough to make them use if they don't want to use? You need to remember why you're here. You're here because you have a problem. You need help. We all get to do this together, and we carry the message together. And it's a beautiful message. This is a beautiful thing. But the reality of it is that I'm not powerful enough to make anybody stay. I wasn't powerful enough to get myself clean. How am I going to be powerful enough to carry somebody else? It doesn't work like that. It also talks about carrying the message is something that I was trying to remember one of the readings, but like I said, I got to read a lot. I tabbed a few things, but I'm probably not going to read anything. I just remember what it said, but it's like carrying the message is the most important and most powerful tool that the group has. I mean, we can individually carry the message and how we live and how we act, but it's really what the group does. And when you have a group of people that show up, we had a new guy show up last Tuesday at one of the meetings, you know, and just to watch everybody kind of jump into action was just so cool. And it was carrying the message. And we all told this guy, hey, let's give you some phone numbers, and here's where the meetings are, and hey, where will we see you tomorrow, and da-da-da-da-da. We did all those things that people did to me. You guys put your arms around me and welcomed me and said, hey, you can come back here. You know, we ask that you come back clean, and together we can recover. And that was the message I heard. I had, you know, and so this new guy showed back up at the meeting, not the next day, I think, or maybe he did, but it wasn't when I went to. It was the next day on Thursday, he showed back up or whatever. And he thanked me for being so kind and so nice to him. And I'm like, I didn't do anything special. But, you know, sometimes I forget after being here for a while, they weren't welcoming me back at the dope hole. You know, nobody was being nice to me out there because I had become what I'd become. So when you show up to a room full of strangers, as my first sponsor used to say, with your butt in your hands, ask them for help and what to do different in your life because you don't know how to live. And they welcome you and they love on you and they guide you and they give you direction. Then that's how carrying the message is done. And I'm just so grateful that message was carried to me. And I didn't get it all at first because, and some of the people have heard me say this before, but I wanted to work another program. It was very similar. I thought it was called Bob Anonymous. Have y'all ever heard of Bob Anonymous? Yeah, it didn't work. I was going to do it my way. And alcohol was refreshment. It was not a drug. You know, I could go to some of those old people places and things, but just some of them because I wanted to show them how good I was doing. And some of the girls I wanted to impress, you know, because I had a couple somethings because I wasn't using quite as I was before. And it didn't work. And I had to completely surrender and I had to follow the direction from Narcotics Anonymous. And that has worked. And it's worked for like I said, a lot of years for me anyway. You know, I also heard Brandon talking about his grandfather and, you know, my father died when I was 12 years old, and my using started fairly steadily from that point. I mean, I had drank a couple little things here and there before that, but at that point it went on. And it wasn't until 30 years later, or 20 some odd years later, that I found Narcotics Anonymous. And I started working steps, and I found out that I had abandonment issues. My father didn't want to die, but I'm an addict, so I made it all about me. And when I made it all about me, then all of a sudden, you know, I gave myself a justification, a reason to use. And one way we carry the message is we talk about our step work, and we talk about what we've learned, and we talk about what we did. You know, I wasn't abandoned. My father didn't want to die, but that's how I felt. And that was, you know, some of the stuff that I had to learn in here. So sometimes carrying the message is also teaching each other how to use the tools in here. And it's about, learning some of those things. When I first did get clean, I was involved with some people out there that I were, and I thought I was too, but some people that were very dangerous to my recovery and just, I think, dangerous altogether. And I wanted to always to think I was a badass, and I was really just a dumbass, but that's, so one of the guys that I had been buying some dope from came to my mom's house where I was living because I had been homeless for the last year of my active addiction, and said the guys sent me over to break your knees because you owe us a lot of money and you can't pay us. And he asked for the money, and I told him I couldn't pay him. And he said, I'm going to give you a couple weeks, get together what you can, and I'm going to tell him I couldn't find you because I knew him since high school. And in a couple weeks he came back, and I gathered up some money. I borrowed money from my mom to pay the dope dealer. I mean, it was, that's the kind of miserable life I was living, right? Just to keep myself from getting hurt. And he asked me, so what happened? And I explained to him what had happened and that I had become my own best client. We talk about that. And he said, why didn't you come to me for some help? And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm going to Narcotics Anonymous. He said, well, why didn't you come to me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He had done 8 years in prison and had attended Narcotics Anonymous when he was in prison. He knew what the message was. And he told me, he said, Bob, if you had a problem, I could have helped you. I could have sent you to meetings and helped you get clean. And I said, so he said, I've been clean and he was telling me, and I'm going, how can you do this? And he said, Bob, I got so deep involved into what I was doing that I couldn't get out of the rut. But I'm clean, but living dirty, but I'm still clean. And that was because of Narcotics Anonymous. So you never know who's going to carry the message to you. The last person I expected was my dope dealer carrying the message to me. But here we are, and I heard a message of hope. I don't recommend anybody do that, get clean and live dirty, but that's just one of the ways that, I heard a message. I remember walking into the rooms and hearing the people say things out loud that I never thought I would ever say out loud, and wondering how they knew what my thoughts were. And the identification process was a huge part of carrying the message. And listening to you, just hearing me helped out tremendously. There was a lot of other things that ways that we've carried the message. And I think the way we carry the message the most is in the way we live. I've been traveling for 26 years with the same group, building restaurants. And these people saw me when I was using. I've got a little over 20, almost 21 years clean. So they saw me the first 5 years, and they have come to me numerous times and said, hey, we know what's going on with you, and we've got somebody and we need your help. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they said, we have somebody who's using in our corporation. It was, and could you please come talk to them and let them know? And again, it's another way that we carry the messages. A couple of people know that I actually go to NA, but other people just know that I've been in recovery and that I haven't, I had one of the owners I built probably a dozen restaurants for came to me a year ago and said, hey man, we need to go out and grab a drink, and celebrate this restaurant. Da, 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 da. And then he looked at me and said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I said, it's okay. I said, I can drink soda or I can drink coffee, I can drink, I can't drink alcohol because it doesn't fit my lifestyle. It's not what I do. And I wouldn't suggest going out to, but I mean, bars and places where people are really partying or whatever, but he wanted to go out and grab dinner and a drink, and normal people can do that, but carrying the message is also just, people know who I am and they know what I don't do. Another thing that we did, because I don't give all my money to the dope man anymore, and I've been able to be a responsible, productive member of society, and you guys taught me spiritual principles like steadfastness and commitment and, responsibility and prudence found in the traditions and stuff in the concepts and, throughout our program. I'll be able to apply that in different areas of my life. And a few of us flew over to London to watch a football game. We went over to see the Jacksonville Jaguars because we could afford it, and we went over to do that. And of course, one of the first things we did when we got over there was we found meetings, right? That's what we do. So, and we went there and we stayed for a week or so, and they were very welcoming and very, and of course I listened to the message, and things were a little different over there, but the message was basically the same. The way that they dealt with things was a little differently, but it was really very cool. One of the ladies that was there at one of the meetings started sharing and broke down and started crying. She had a number of years clean, and her son had seen her in her active addiction and had also seen her in recovery. And she felt responsible because her son had been heavily in active addiction and was living in the States. And she was very, very afraid for him because he was coming out of prison in Virginia. And she had nobody to go help him. He didn't know what to do or where to go. He knew about NA, but he just had nobody here to help him. So after the meeting, one of the other guys and myself went and talked to her and said, what's his name and what can we do, and da-da-da-da. And we contacted some friends in Virginia. And when that man got out of prison, we had 5 people from Narcotics Anonymous waiting for him. That's how we carry the message. I never met the guy. I met his mom once at a meeting, but we were able to reach out the hand of Narcotics Anonymous and try to help this person. And I know we kind of kept up with him for a little while, and I know he got out and he started attending meetings and he stayed clean. I don't know if he's still clean. This was 8 years ago, so I don't remember. I don't know what's happened to him since. But I did my part. And that's what I was taught here, to be responsible for my part. And if you're able to help somebody, if you're able to reach out the hand, then that's carrying the message. And that's how we do it. So differently, and we're all do it our own little way. And whatever way that is that you do it, however you do it, whatever, whatever hug you give or whatever dance you do or whatever it is, carry the message your way. But please continue to carry the message. One of the things it says, well, we can only keep what we have by giving it away. I don't know how your life is today, but I love my life. I'm talking about some really crazy stuff going on with me, and I'll let you into a little bit of it. Like so when I got here, I was homeless. I was living in the back of a 87 Honda Accord. I had nothing. My mom wouldn't answer the phone anymore. I went to jail and nobody was bailing me out. I got out and was told I had to go to an NA meeting or they wouldn't bail me out. And here I am 20 plus years later. And the big deal in my life right now is I'm thinking about retirement. And I'm scared. I don't know which dope hole you guys came out of, but there was no 401k there. There was no benefit package. There was no way to live. There was none of that. There was none of that. And you guys have taught me how to do things with myself and my life that I can be responsible for, and that I've worked my butt off. I became a workaholic, so be careful about that, because that's also one of the ways the disease, money, property, and prestige can certainly divert us. But the reality of it is that, I've been able to I hope I've stayed grounded enough, that I've stayed plugged into my recovery enough that I haven't abused that. But I know that I've hurt myself by trying to overachieve in that area. But the result of it now is I'm talking about maybe actually slowing down and retiring and being able to enjoy the fruits of the life that I worked for, only to be able to be done with the help of Narcotics Anonymous. And my wife's goal is to travel and make meetings and maybe hear a different message, and also continue to carry the message. What a great way to live. And I'm just so grateful to Narcotics Anonymous. I'm so grateful for this life. I'm so grateful for you guys carrying the message to me, that some poor old little homeless guy off the street can come in here and be loved by a group of people just like y'all. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
So much, Bob.
Thanks,
Wow.
Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we do have a little bit of time before we end. So we can, if anyone would like to share, we can open the floor. If you will, we'll go by a show of hands, and given the number of non-videos, if you will raise your Zoom hand, that would be great. Or if you are on video, you can raise your actual arm, your hand, if you have a hand. I see Felicia. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name.
It's all right. I'm used to it. Hi, family. I'm an addict named Felicita. Grateful to be clean, man. Yesterday, someone sent me this, information to this convention, and as soon as I read it, I was just like, oh, that is so me, because it was based off just for today, the other day. Thank you to both speakers. There was some things that touched my heart and my spirit, right? And in February, I celebrated 2 years clean. And, that was something that I'd never planned for, right? So I'm just taking it a day at a time right now. And so grateful for where I'm at. I'm working on my third step, and that feels amazing, right? To just start seeing the growth within myself and my life. Currently, my father's in active addiction. My family's all addicts. My mother died at the age of 25. So I was born into this disease without the say-so, and watching my father in active addiction. And every time I get the call, like I cringe and I want to jump and run, which I've done. And then as soon as I learned about this, topic, I was just like, look, like my job is just to let him see how I live. He knows how I lived before, and he'll see what Narcotics Anonymous has done for me now, right? And I've set up his laptop for Zoom, and I left him a list of Zoom IDs, and I walked away, and I've not turned back. I randomly send him, a new Zoom link and stuff, but my job is just to let him see how I live and let it be that. I don't have to actually sit there and stress myself, because my main focus is for me to stay clean. I can't get or make him be clean, right? And so I'm grateful for that. And Bob, you said something that just tickled my heart, because, my mom was an addict, and so she died. And I'm like, what was me? And oh, poor Felicia, like my mom didn't love me and didn't want me. No, she was an addict. And it took me to come to Narcotics Anonymous to understand that she did the best that she could do with what she was given. She didn't have the chair that was given to me. She didn't have the tools of a program to do what I'm able to do. So I tell myself every day, just for today, I'm going to be the best mom I can, but through Narcotics Anonymous, right? Through what tools I have been given today to be that mom, So I'm grateful for that. Thanks for letting me share. I love y'all.
For sharing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Debbie.
Yes, I got it. Good morning. Great morning, everyone. My name is Debbie, and I am an addict. First and foremost, truly need to thank a loving God for this life-changing, life-saving message. I want to thank Brandon as well as Bob for sharing your experience, strength, and hope, and our tech team. Woo, woo! Yay! Thank y'all both for sharing. Bob, you brought back some things for me, and I was sitting over here and I had those emotions going on. And, I can remember my first two sponsees, both of them died the same week. And they went out and they used 2 different places, and it was devastating. You know, like you, I just thought that there was, what did I not say? You know, what did I not do? Of course, you know, that would have made them stay. You know, and for a while, I didn't even sponsor anyone. People will ask me, and I wouldn't even sponsor them because I was devastated. You know, 2 people died on my watch. Really, Deb? But I was still, you know, I was still learning. I was pretty new. And I had to understand that it was a choice that they made, right? And then what started happening is that I then started sponsoring again. And I was just overprotective of every sponsee that I had because, you know, I had to say the right things all the time because I didn't want them to go out and use, right, Bob? And so, you know, it was just that up and down spiral until it became some balance. And I had to realize as I continue to work the steps, right, again, that people had choices and that, you know, when they decided to use, that was their choice, you know. And I too, like, congratulations, and I'm probably gonna mess it up, so I'm gonna call you Fifi, all right? But congratulations, Fifi, okay? Because 2 years is a very long time, but like you know, when I got clean as well, oh no, it just wasn't the sponsees, y'all. It was everybody around me. So we had these free pamphlets. So I was going to every meeting, getting the free pamphlets, putting it in my bathroom, putting it on my table. So when everybody came, they had to read a pamphlet. They had to do something, you know. And so it was just amazing, you know, early in recovery and the things that we do, you know. But as I stay here and I continue to understand that I can only share my experience, strength, and hope, and hopefully. And what has happened, I will say that the hope is as I continue to share, Bob, honestly, I started attracting people even more because I remember too, Bob, came in here and like everything else, I wanted to fit, right? So I remember doing my first step and it was like a love story. You know, I only used a little bit. I knew who I was getting in the car with, all of this stuff that, you know, my sponsor, poor woman, she just looked at me and shook her head and said, please keep coming, you know. And then eventually I started sharing the truth, right? And what happened was, you know, other women started being attracted to the truth that I was sharing, you know, and they realized that they weren't alone. They weren't the only woman that had different baby daddies, and they weren't the only women that got in strangers' cars and things like that, you know. And so that is what we do here. You know, we share to the best of our ability and we share our honesty where we are, you know, and as we keep coming, right, it gets better, you know. And so I just wanted to just take a moment and share, Bob, because you touched me with that, because like I said, it took me back to the first 2 women that, you know, that got lost on my watch, right? Okay, but thank y'all so much. Wonderful meeting. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Deb. Love you a lot. All right, you ladies, I'm so sorry. Lucretia, we'd love to hear you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lucretia. I'm an addict, and thank you so much for chairing the meeting. And I'm just so grateful to be in the convention for the GRCNA area. I think that's how you all pronounce it. Just fabulous speakers. I really felt that they were speaking from the heart. And I haven't been sponsoring for very long. I have 4 years clean, but it's so easy to get attached to your sponsee because they are at times still the sick and suffering addict. And it's so natural to grieve and to want to help them and to, you know, be responsible for them. But like in our 12th step in the in the basic text, it does say that we are not gods. And I think it's just, for me, it's so important to always try to be led by a higher power. I like to pray before the phone calls I have with sponsees. I like to pray when I get them on the phone so that I can try to the best of my ability that my actions are aligned with the will of my higher power. Because if the actions that I'm taking, if they're aligned with the will of my higher power, then I can rest a little bit easier knowing that I really did do the best that I could. I know I'll finish with this. One of my sponsors, because I'm one of those classic do-gooders, codependent caretakers, she always would say they're going to pull you down faster than you can bring them up. And that's not to say that their life is not worthy, but my clean time is very precious and very fragile. and anything that's a threat to it, you know, I have to keep that in the forefront of my mind when I'm dealing with other addicts. But I have 3 sponsees, we work our asses off, and I absolutely love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Grateful you're here. John P.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. My name's John. I'm an addict. Thank you, Bob and Brandon, for sharing. And this topic is good for me because, man, I've really struggled with this over the years. And I too, man, when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I had no coping skills, poor boundaries, and that's something I really had to put a lot of work into and learn through this process, and especially when it comes to others. And you know, the thing for me, when I start caring more about your recovery than you do, you know, I have to stop and take a step back. And today, the most loving thing I can do is let you have your pain. You know, and the truth for me too is that, you know, if people would had done that for me and then enable me to the point where I would have kept going in my addiction. And you know, so that's been a powerful lesson for me, is that without the pain, I would do nothing different. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow. Thank you, John P. Glad you're here. Keep coming. We need you. All righty, everyone. We still have some time. The floor is open. Tommy.
Yeah, I'm Tommy and I'm an addict. So there's a guy I had sponsoring me. We both got clean initially in 2001. He stayed clean from that date to this one, and I didn't. And my clean date is in 2011. But leading up to that clean date in 2011, he would call, because he taught me a valuable lesson. He would call me every once in a while, just checking in with me to see if I was ready to stop. And, you know, if everything was going okay with me and I wasn't desperate in the moment that he called me, I either would like BS him over the phone or just wouldn't answer at all. But then every time I got stuck in some desperate situation out there using, I would call him to come rescue me. And he would come every time. He would never give me any money or anything like that. But, you know, if I ran out of gas somewhere, he'd make sure I was safe and, you know, stuff like that. And so finally, probably 6 or 7 months into it, I finally called him, like right smack in the middle of desperation, and said, you know, I'm ready. And without hesitation, he said, okay, don't go back to the spot you're living, because somebody was letting me, you know, borrow a spare bedroom to keep me off the streets at the time, in a really nice place. But he knew had I went back to that house with those good people and got some rest, got something to eat, took a bath, that sort of stuff, that I would lose that gift of desperation. So he just told me to come to him, and I did. And it was on a Thursday, and it took us until Monday to find somewhere for me to go, like a detox. And, you know, I did what, you know, an active addict does over that weekend. I found a way to use, and he still didn't, you know, that didn't negate his willingness to help me. And so on Monday, we were driving to the detox, and by this time I'd figured out what I had done wrong. I don't need to go in treatment again. All I need for him to do now is stop the truck so I can go about my way. And I had everything I owned pretty much in this Kroger bag sitting in my lap. And when he pulled up to the detox, I think he saw the rabbit in my eyes, right? And before I could step out of the truck, he grabbed my arm and he was like, Tommy, man, do you know why I still like fool around with you? And he didn't say it that nicely though. He said, you know why I still fool around with you? And I said, no. And he said, man, because I've stopped messing with people for less than how you've treated me over the past few months. And I kind of hung my head low because I thought he was like talking down on me. And, you know, I hung my head a little lower and I went to step out of the truck and he stopped me again. And he said, well, man, the reason I still mess with you is because, you know, it's something about you that once you find out who you are, not only is your life going to blow, but it's going to positively affect everybody's life who yours touch, and I don't want to miss it, is what he told me. And so when I stepped out of the truck and I walked into that facility for probably the 4th or 5th time in my life, what changed that day was that now, instead of walking in simply because I didn't want to be homeless anymore, I walked in because I wanted to answer that question I could never answer before. Like when people would always ask me, Tommy, why do you keep doing this to yourself? And my honest answer was always, I don't know. That's the question I wanted to answer when I walked in that time. And it was all because of this person that I had pushed away every opportunity I had for the past few months. And when I was finally ready and reached out for help, he jumped in and helped me without hesitation. And so he gave me a really good example of what carrying the message and not the addict meant. He didn't enable me along the way. He reached out every once in a while to encourage me along the way and just remained available. So when I was ready, all I had to do was ask, and he was there for me. And it taught me what I need to do for other addicts as I go through my journey of recovery. So I appreciate the experience of predecessors. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Tommy. Love you a lot. Am I seeing any other hands that I'm not seeing? Perhaps. I wish I could. I saw a thumb. Wait, I just saw a thumb. No. You guys, it gets wild on the double. When the room gets full, you got to go back and forth, etc., etc. I'm going to share really briefly and just take a moment. I'm Mary Quinn. I'm an addict. Hey, everybody. And I am so grateful to be here. Bob and Brandon, thank you. Bob, you know, something, you reminded me of something when you shared. The minute that gut level honesty came out of you about at the very end of your share, my heart blew up. Unbeknownst to me, my heart just went off. And I was talking to someone about the way that works earlier, because it's not logical, it's not rational, it's not the word shared, it's the experience of experiencing someone else's gut level honesty. And that to me is really like what really drives the way I carry the message and the way the message has been carried to me. You know, I got clean in Tampa, Florida, and I too, my first convention was also FRCNA a few years after yours, but I that just really warmed my heart a lot. Suncoast, Fun Coast, whatever we were, but I went to treatment for a long time. I went to a lot of treatment, and then I got out and I did not stop using. I had built a community of people in recovery in that place. And living in the area that I did, it was small. And so there was plenty of people I would run into. And they'd say, how you doing, Mary Quinn? And I'd give the requisite, you know, I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Knowing inside there was like this inkling of a voice that was like, please God, tell them, they can help you, tell them like right now. But I couldn't do it. I wasn't ready yet. And there are two things that I believe got me to a place of willingness, like actual things that were iterated by humans. And one was the prayers that we do at the beginning and the end of every meeting. You guys prayed for me before I got here. And the other was seeing those people. They put a spark of willingness somewhere in me. I didn't know it. But on the day that I woke up and I took my shower and I got out and the room was wobbly and I felt like I was going to pass out, but like I felt like that every day. Like that was nothing new. Like it wasn't rocket science. And I just had this moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I don't want to die and I don't want to live. So like, what do you, I always, it rocks my world. Like, what do you do with that? Like, I don't like either option. And the seed had been planted. So I knew there might be a door 3. And I called someone just like Tommy. And he answered the phone, and he was super bubbly. He was like, Q, what you doing? And I said, Michael, I can't do it anymore. And he was like, oh man, I've been waiting for your call for a long time. Why don't you come over here? And I stayed in his office all day and then went to a group. And then he had a woman come pick me up and take me to my last meeting. And that next day I didn't use, and I haven't used since then, you know? And the way I sponsor is that I will meet you wherever you are, but I'm not coming over the fence. Because just like was said, like Michael never came and got me. He met me at the borderline. And I've had a lot of sponsees come and a lot of sponsees go, and I pray for them a lot when they come into my head. It's really cool to have an opportunity to pray for them. And I've had a lot of sponsors because I've lived all over the world in recovery. But I just want to thank the speakers. I want to thank Danny and the committee and the tech committee is kind of radical. So shout out to all of you. Bob, thank you. Godspeed in your retirement. Thank you. All righty. We've had some new people join. Does anyone else want to share? We still have time. Felicia, I see you have your hand raised. I know you already shared though. Are you wanting to reshare?
No, I just wanted to see if some women could put their number in the chat. I'm all for building my foundation.
Right on. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
We are using, so if you have not yet downloaded the Telegram app, that's a offline chat for everyone for the GRCNA committee. And perhaps Mike, I see you're in here. I think Jay might be as well. You could share that link. Anyone else out there want to share? Nope. All righty. Well, I will turn the floor back over to Danny.
Tommy's coming.
I would like to thank today's workshop speakers and everyone who attended and participated. Can we please close with the moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer? Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Awesome meeting, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
And Felicia, Mike put the Telegram link in the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I think.
Hey, Jeff, what's SLCANA?
Oh, Savannah Low Country area of Narcotics Anonymous.
I got you. Okay. We used to record conventions, as some of y'all know, whatever. So my wife recorded GRCNA for probably 20 plus years, but there was one called the St. Louis area, SLACNA, SLH. Wait a second, but there's an extra C in there, so never mind. I got you.
How is your wife, Bob?
Hey, thanks for sharing, Bob.
Thank you. I sure will. I'll say hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Just so awesome to be part of this.
Yes, yes.
Jeff, How are you?
Thank you for sharing too, Brandon.
Hey, where's Brandon? Yeah.
Yes, Brandon. I think we lost Brandon, but
Yeah,
Oh, Sarah.
And I think Sarah was trying to say hi to somebody. Yeah.
Jeff, to Jeff.
I was saying what's up to Jeff Rowe.
I'm just good to see you. I was getting ready to hit you up, wonder where you was at.
all
Making
right.
sure
Yeah,
you
I've
didn't have
been
a
working.
resentment or something.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, thank you, Danny.
Thanks for your service, everyone. Love
Thank
you,
you,
y'all.
Bob. We love you.
Hey, y'all join
Yeah,
H&I at
Bye.
11:30. H&I workshop at 11:30.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna jump off for a minute.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Later, guys.
Also,
Love
at
y'all. See you
11:30,
soon.
we got principles before personalities and honesty, hard to practice, most rewarding, as well as H&I.
Yes.
I'll be
Yes.
Kim,
Yep, I'll be going in.
There's Kim.
hey,
You look
Kim,
great, buddy.
looking marvelous.
Thank you. Somehow I went in, I listened to the whole other, but I somehow went in through the computer instead of the app and it wouldn't show my face. So I figured it out.
Yes.
Well, good to see your face.
For real, for real. That was a great meeting. So Mike, what's in
So
this?
so I gotta go back out. Jimmy's
Yes.
doing principles before personalities, 11.
You're right. Exactly.
We got principles before personalities, H&I, and honesty, hard to practice, most rewarding.
Yeah, but that's Nikita's going to be sharing on honesty. That's pretty rad.
All right, I'm gonna go out and get ready for the next one because I have.
Okay.
Love you all.
All
Thanks.
right.
so much.
Close the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all for all you do.
Mary Quinn.
Thank you.